Actually, my seat was taken, so I sat up there. I got to see everybody, got to look down.
That's sometimes better.
It was kind of amazing, yeah. It was amazing.
I'm going to start with a couple of questions for you, and then I'll try to get everybody else in. You spoke in your introduction, I thought, very eloquently and beautifully about how Elena Ferrante's work resonated with you. Can you say a little bit about how you zeroed in on this particular book, The Lost Daughter, which is not one of her best-known works?
Yeah, so I started reading the Neapolitan novels, and I read them kind of as they were coming out. And in fact, my friend who recommended them to me is here, whose last name is Caruso. And I remember having to wait for the third one to be translated into English. Like, I was kind of on the, I loved them. And then I read Days of Abandonment. And Days of Abandonment is the book that I dropped. It was so truthful and painful that I kind of felt like I couldn't take it for a minute. And I, to be honest, I did first look into getting the rights to that book. And the publisher said, they're tied up, they're really complicated. There was an Italian movie made. The publisher said that she thought that Ferrante and I would be a good match. And she suggested that I read The Lost Daughter. And I read it in a weekend, and I was like, yes. I think they're all very similar in what they're talking about and what the seed of life in them is. And so it accomplished the same thing for me.
And I understand that you actually contacted Elena Ferrante directly?
Well, the publisher said, I think you would be a good match, but it's really up to her. So my task was then to ask Ferrante for the rights. So because she's anonymous, I wrote to her. And I spent like 3 weeks on this letter. And again, many of the people in this audience read drafts of it. maybe 3 of them. And she said, I asked her for the rights to the book to adapt and said that I wanted to direct it. And she responded and said, yes, you can have the rights, but this contract is void unless you direct it.
She actually wrote a piece, I think it was published in The Guardian, specifying that, right? Before you made the film?
Well, so that because I don't know who she is, she kind of lives in.
So you don't have any insight, even as somebody who's had it.
I keep trying to figure out what joke to tell about how I actually know her, but no, I don't. And she lives in my fantasy life. She's like this incredibly wise, in my mind, wise older woman who keeps giving me freedom and confidence to move forward in the world. So the Guardian piece, she says I have to direct it or I can't have it anymore. And then as I'm adapting, all my friends in England, in the UK, were like, oh my God, this piece came out in the Guardian, and it's basically Ferrante saying that even though it's difficult for her to imagine giving her piece or having the parameters of it change, that she knows that the only way that it will be successful, really artistically successful, is if it becomes mine. And she says that if I were a man, that she would not offer me this freedom. But that because I'm a woman and a woman artist, she knows she has to.
I guess, what did that mean for you to make it yours?
Well, I think it was already, I had been writing with the book as a kind of Bible, it was under my arm, And I hadn't ever written a screenplay before, but I have read many and worked on many and analyzed many, and I feel like the process of, for me anyway, it'd be interesting to know what you guys think about this, but having a piece of writing, a script, and taking it apart as an actor to figure out what is the essence here, what is the life in this. Okay, it's a scene between two people at a deli counter ordering a sandwich, but is it a seduction? Is it an apology? Like, what is it? Why is it in the story? That's the same thing I did with the book. And so I was kind of working my way through the book like that, really using it as a North Star. And then at some point, I lost the book. Like, I don't even know where it was in my office. And I got like really interesting notes from people, writers, first two writers, they're both here. And they both told me that the toy store scene was in the wrong place. In the book, it's much earlier. So then you have to live with this woman who you know has done this aberrant, transgressive thing for much longer. No, sorry, it's not that. It's that in the toy store scene, she reveals that she left her kids. And so you have to, it's a lot longer that you're living with her. And both of these writers said to me, it doesn't work. It has to come later. And so then once I started to take apart the structure, they were right. It was clear that they were right. Then it all started to fall apart. And then it started to
take more liberties.
It started to be mine. I mean, the movie's very different than the book. And in fact, just one thing about Ferrante also, the last sort of real interaction I had with Ferrante was, the ending of the movie is basically the absolute opposite of the ending of the book. The words are the opposite. And I struggled and struggled with the ending of the book. I have so much respect for Ferrante. I have so much respect for her mind. What does she mean? How can she mean I'm dead, but I'm fine? How can she mean that? Now I have some more insight into it, but at the time I thought, it's the opposite. I'm just gonna write what I think. And she really gave me her blessing on that. She was like,
I want you to, talk about the other actress as well, but I think at what point were you thinking of Olivia at this point?
Well, I was saying this today, you're like, it's the same with Bon Jovi. I was like, why not just put Bon Jovi in? What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm gonna ask him if I can use a song, and he's gonna say no, and I'm gonna feel disappointed, maybe for a few days, and I'm gonna handle it. It was the same with Olivia. I was like, well, two things actually. Today, someone interviewed us, all of the women here, and said, these parts are so different for all of you. And I agree, and I think something in me was like, I want to see Olivia do this. From across the ether, like Ferrante, I have a feeling she's gonna kind of be into this. And so I just took a chance, and we drank a bottle of champagne, and at the end of the bottle she said yes.
Olivia, what was your response to the script?
First of all, sorry. Maggie approached me, and I was terribly excited that Maggie Gyllenhaal had approached me about anything. And we arranged to meet, and I don't think I'd read it by then. We were just wondering about working together, is that right?
You told me you read it.
Okay. That's right, I had read it. I can't remember the order of things. Maybe that's what happened. And I was terribly excited about playing someone I hadn't played before, about Maggie being, in charge of it, and it was sort of a yes. And whether I read the script then or later, I can't remember. But over the years I've read a lot of scripts, and I love when you read it and you go, oh, I could do this, or we all know that feeling when you get one and you go, oh yeah. The litmus, my lovely agents say, imagine someone else doing it, how do you feel? You go, oh no, can't that, no, that can't happen. So it was one of those ones.
We don't have a lot of time, but I kind of want to get everybody in here, and I feel like maybe one way to do it is for you to talk a little bit about how you put, it's an incredible ensemble of actors, and all of them are playing, I think, quite complex characters, even if they're smallish roles. So can you talk about how you put everybody in here? And I also want to, hear you talk about directing actors, as somebody who's been directed as an actor for your entire working life, and maybe the actors can weigh in on that as well.
Yeah, I liked hearing you guys talk about that today. I heard Paul Mescal does a really good imitation of me.
This is not the first question I'm ever going to be asked. Okay. So Maggie, you did this, and obviously we're shooting this during Corona. So Maggie would come with this with the mask on, and she'd kind of come close to you, and you'd be like, okay, what wonderful note is going to come our way? And she'd go, I just think that. And some things would come in, you kind of be like, okay, let's do that. That's a nervous impression.
What, Ed? I see something coming from you.
You want to hear something from me?
I see you thinking.
Oh.
Just thinking of a better
Well, when
impression.
you told me I was going to have a chance to dance, I said, yeah, I want to do it. No, I'm joking. When I read the script, I tell you the truth, I was a little bit on the fence. I mean, I really wanted to work with you, and I admired you, and yeah, I didn't want to work with Olivia at all. No, I was excited about all that, but I didn't, the script, Amy, my wife, who's an actress, wrote the script. Because I just didn't, she said, Ed, this is fucking great. I'm like, what's your problem here? So I read it again with what I attempted to be a woman's point of view, a female's point of view, and it helped quite a bit. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Thank you, Amy Madigan. Well, Jessie's next, just in terms of how she came along. When we had our boozy lunch, I said to Olivia...
Oh, that's right, I had read the script because that's how that's right.
That's how you knew there was a younger you. And we were talking about who that could be and what that could mean, and I think that was one of the trickiest parts about this directorially, how that could have been awful. And I think one of the things we were saying was like, these are going to be two grown-up, full-fledged, incredible actresses. I'm not going to ever ask the audience to pretend that they're actually the same person. But if you go into your unconscious, poetic mind, let's have an experience together where they are. So who could that be? And Olivia said, well, what about Jessie Buckley? And that weekend, Wild Rose had come out in New York, and I went by myself and I watched that movie, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
More than champagne that you drank. George, do I say something now?
Yeah, do. I'm gonna do an imitation of me.
No, I'm starving. No, I mean it was a no-brainer. It was like Maggie and the script, and then we ended up in Greece, so that was lovely. And it was an amazing. I know that woman, like I'm all that woman, we're all that woman. My mom's that woman, my sister's that woman. And it was kind of scary to I guess, go there, but also really rewarding because it's honest, and it's kind of like, I took a big sigh after I read the script. And I was like there was a few weeks after I spoke to you first, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was just in the night when you text me asking would I do it, I was just about to text you being like, look, I'm so sorry, but I can't stop thinking about this. Please let me be the water boy, or Paul's pool friend. I'll bring the ice creams. Like ice cream.
Jessie's like a sister.
could go through the whole row of
Yes,
actors.
please. Paul, you don't have
My
to.
impression.
No, you need to do more. Better. Go.
It was one of the first scripts I read last summer, and Chris rang me up and he's like, "Here's a script by Maggie Gyllenhaal," and I lost my mind and said I just want to be involved in any way possible. I remember I met Maggie on a Zoom, and it was kind of one of those crazy moments when you're looking at somebody who you've watched for years and years, and you're suddenly in a really creative conversation with them, and there was just such a thrill about it. And then Peter came into the background, he's like, "Hey, I'm Peter." We landed in Greece, and you're suddenly in scenes with Olivia, and you're surrounded by this. And for me, the experience was, I obviously learned a huge amount when I was working, but it was more so getting to watch this incredible group of people go to work on a daily basis.
Wasn't this your first movie?
Yeah.
Dad and Maggie. First of all, I haven't seen the movie. So I'm sitting here having kind of an out of body, thinking, I watched the movie and everybody was brilliant and oh my gosh, I look all right. And then the other part of me is, we were on an island in Greece during a pandemic. I remember, hey, that's a crew guy. He's in that scene. You know, like it's that, because I just saw it. Anyway, I met Maggie in New York somewhere, somehow, and I've always loved her from a distance. And then I met these two, and my husband and I were like, they're so awesome. And then I got a thing on the Deuce, and we worked together, and we had the best time. And Maggie said, we should work again together. I want to do a movie with you or something. And I was like, yeah, let's. Because you hear that sometimes from very lovely actors or directors. They meet you, they think you're cool. Oh, let's work together. And she fucking meant it. We didn't know each other very well, but we also did another little movie together years ago. Oh yes, we did. Yeah. And I also saw you in Vera Farmiga's movie. And I thought I didn't even know I was writing it for you, but it was. And then when it came around, yeah, I mean, that was very lovely and easy. It was the best. It's a no-brainer too. You see that and these names, and it was a pandemic, and it actually was like kind of thematic because I thought, well, I can't leave my kids in the middle of a pandemic, and there's virtual online school, and like my mom's here, but she doesn't drive, and my husband's away. I can't do it, you know. And my girlfriends, who are all moms, who are not actors, said, you have to do it. And then I got to Greece, and we quarantined, and Olivia, after 14 days, I came downstairs, and I saw all of them in the garden, and guitars, and music, and drinks, and cigarettes, and I was like, oh, and I thought, oh gosh, did Cal do his homework today? And Olivia looked at me and said, and I said it in the interview, and I'm going to repeat it because it was a profound moment for me. She said, Dad, in a minute we'll be back at the car line picking up the kids. That's not going away, but this will, so milk it for every child. Magic. And this movie's magic, but I need to process. Hi. Hi.
Hi. We had lunch, and, well, you're better at telling this part than I am. You say it really well.
You have to talk now, Dakota.
You're not the boss of me.
You tell it.
Maggie and I had lunch, and I was so kind of mesmerized by this script coming out of her brain. And I really wanted to like go there with her. And sometimes in these meetings you have a meeting about a movie or a script, and it's like, are we gonna talk about it, or are we gonna like really talk about it? And we kind of did like a surface conversation for 3 minutes, and then just went like, the Mariana Trenches deep. We were like in. And I realized actually now talking about that part of the process is kind of like what Nina wanted so badly with Leda, was like this fascination with this woman, which made her think like, is there more for me? Can I do more? And being so hungry to be seen, and so like, can my brain expand? Can my heart expand? What if I think bad things? Or what if I have an ugly thought or an ugly behavior and I don't know what to do? Or what if I feel like I'm failing or I can't do it? And like all of these things that also belong to me, as Dakota definitely came out at Maggie throughout shooting. But I think the parallel in that, and this thing that I saw in this girl and this woman who just really wanted more for herself, but was sort of in like a vacuum and wasn't seen and wasn't heard, and probably won't ever be, except for in that one moment. And then you had to go and ruin it by stealing a fucking doll. How did you meet Maggie?
So Maggie and I were having sex. She said, "Hey, you're really good at this. Why don't you do it in my movie?" Wow, what is there to say? I mean, it is pretty amazing. You know, when Maggie first told me she was going to do this, you know, like from the first sentence, you know, she told me I'm going to make this thing and do a movie. I think I thought, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds fun. And I was actually writing something at the same time. And it's difficult to describe Maggie's level of focus and intensity when going after the truth with people, with material. And let's just say that I was still writing the thing that I was writing when we were shooting. I mean, it was just a thrill to work with my wife. I mean, everyone should try it. That's all I have to say.
Let me just throw one quick question to you, Maggie. Has Elena Ferrante seen the film?
No, she hasn't yet.
Unless she's here tonight, we don't know.
Yeah, I know. I imagined her with like a veil in Venice. I have been assured that as soon as she sees the film, that she'll write to me. Her publisher saw it and promised me